difficult over here.
Okay. Have you guys ever had that dream where you're falling and you suddenly jolt awake? Your heart is pounding, your palms are probably sweaty, a little tingly, and you're really scared? Well, this is what anxiety can be like for some people. Anxiety is much more common than most people realize, and so today I'm going to be talking about what anxiety is, different types of anxiety, and how someone might get anxiety. So, a quote, anxiety is more common than depression, end quote, by Diane Hales. In a study that was done, 10 to 15% of psychiatric patients were diagnosed with anxiety, and compared to 7 to 10% in that study were diagnosed with depression. Anxiety is fear of certain objects or situations. This is a very broad, generalized kind of definition of anxiety, so I'll kind of go more into detail of it. Anxiety and panic attacks are, usually when you have anxiety, panic attacks are associated with that. And panic attacks are sudden, inexplainable terror. As you can see, these are some symptoms of anxiety or panic attacks: dizziness, heart palpitations. This again is kind of a very broad, generalized kind of definition, and I'll go into a little bit more detail. So, speaking of the panic attacks, usually when you have a panic attack, you have a panic disorder. And I'll be talking about that and a couple other disorders. Panic disorder is attacks that make you feel like you can't function properly. And the next disorder we have is generalized anxiety disorder. Quote, excessive or unrealistic apprehension that causes physical symptoms, by Diane Wells. Much like the panic attacks, they have the same kind of similar symptoms, but they also have a little bit more, such as like sleep deprivation, irrationality, muscle aches, a little bit more. Then we have our specific phobias, which are anxiety when it comes to, or fear when it comes to certain objects or situations. So if you have arachnophobia, it's going to be your fear of spiders. Then we have obsessive compulsive disorder. This is a reoccurring irrational thought that makes people do repeated motions, so such as locking your door 5 times, flickering the lights 8 times. Then we have our post-traumatic stress disorder. And this is anxiety when it's surrounded by trauma. So people who are in combat, they get PTSD a lot more. Then we have our social anxiety. Social anxiety is the extreme fear of being judged by people in our social situations. Then we have separation anxiety, and this is the fear of being separated or away from your loved ones. There are many different types of anxieties, and there are also many ways to get anxiety. Some of them can include your genetics. So if your parents have anxiety, it can definitely be passed down to you. Also environment, so going kind of back to the PTSD, if you're around trauma, it can cause anxiety. And then even brain chemistry. So in our brain, we have something called the amygdala. It's right there. And the amygdala is a small structure deep inside which processes our threats and alerts the brain that we are in danger. Then we have what's called our hippocampus. That's right here. That's also another structure in our brain that stores our memories revolving threatening events. And it can be smaller in people who have experienced combat or child abuse. All right. So having anxiety myself, I kind of feel like an expert, and I like to share the knowledge because anxiety itself is not talked about enough. And I'm glad I was able to tell you guys what anxiety is, the different types of disorders, and some ways that someone might get anxiety. Being able to share this will help people who are struggling and also help them understand that they're not alone. Thank you.